Well, hi everybody, I'm Samantha Wojenski. So who am I and why am I here today to talk to you about MultiCloud? I'm the VP of Sales for Pureport. Pureport is a relatively new company. We were founded in February of 2018 and we just went live with our platform in Q1 of this year. We've seen a ton of traction in the market and I'm going to tell you about the market gap that we solve. My background, I come from the data center industry, so I'm very at home here at phoenixNAP. It's a beautiful facility and looking forward to a tour later. Networking and then also software as a service in my background. So excited to be here to talk to all of you. All right, so multi-cloud. I feel like this is the new buzzword of 2019. Everybody's talking about multi-cloud, and why is that? We all know that people are moving their applications to the cloud. They are, taking advantage of different software as a service platforms, platform as a service, and different computing platforms. So some of the examples: ServiceNow, Azure, Microsoft, AWS, of course, is the 800-pound gorilla in the space. So the entire purpose of multi-cloud, or the biggest advantage, is really the flexibility to pick the cloud provider that best suits your needs. So I think about it from a hardware perspective. When back in the day, the on-site, the on-prem software deployments, the software manufacturer got to tell you what type of hardware you had to use, right? Well, now you're able to differentiate your different environments based on, what works best for your company. So what are the advantages of multi-cloud? I mentioned choice, so the ability to not be locked in to one vendor just because that's what you've always done. You're able to really take a look at the different offerings out there and who is the best fit for your business. So for example, we talk to a lot of people who really prefer the Google platform for machine learning. So maybe they've got production in AWS, maybe they've got a colo environment here in phoenixNAP, or a managed infrastructure environment, and then they also want to move data into GCP for the TensorFlow workloads. So really just being able to provide that choice of, hey, this is where this is going to best live. These are the platforms that process this data quickly, and make sure that you're really able to be agile and make sure that you're able to innovate very quickly. Flexibility. So, a lot of people want to talk about vendor lock-in when it comes to cloud platforms. The flexibility of being able to move workloads between different cloud platforms and not being beholden to one particular company is another reason that we're seeing a lot of people go multi-cloud. Cost savings. So you're going to see this, you're going to see cost on both my advantages slide and my disadvantages slide. So if multi-cloud is done well, there are cost savings. So you're able to go, really pit two different cloud vendors against one another, make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck, right? Because they know that you're doing business with another cloud provider and you can always threaten them with moving your workloads more into the other one if they're not able to come down on their pricing. And then resiliency. This goes back to the vendor lock-in piece of things, not putting all of your eggs in one basket. So if Azure has a global DNS outage, as they have a few times this year, your sites aren't offline, right? Your applications are still going to be able to serve your customers. All right, so disadvantages of multi-cloud. Complexity is the number one disadvantage of multi-cloud. If you do not have an overall management plan for your multi-cloud environment, it can be very complex to manage the different cloud providers because they all do things just a little differently. They all have different nomenclature, all different pricing structures, so it can be very complex to really understand what is best for which workload and what that true cost of that environment is going to be. Cost, again, told you we'd be seeing this one. So when you're moving workloads between cloud providers and you're not using a company like Pureport to do that over private connectivity, you're going to pay egress charges if you're moving data from AWS into GCP, processing it there, and then moving it back, you're going to get hit with costs from both sides, right? And again, going back to the complexity, if you don't fully understand the best way to optimize your cloud resources in each of the different providers, you can really see that cost scale up. Takes a lot of people by surprise. Talent management. So everybody knows how hard it is to find great IT talent today. And I live in Raleigh, so we have a great pool of candidates. But again, it's the candidates market, right? We're all competing for the same amount of talent. So it's hard enough to find great people who are experts in one particular cloud platform. If you want to find a rock star who knows all of the different cloud platforms, that's nearly impossible, right? What we typically see are people who will hire for one proficiency and then allow kind of on-the-job training to get up to speed in the other cloud providers. So talent management can be a real struggle. And then security, right? If you've got everything in one environment, for example, think about phoenixNAP here. Everything's very secure. You come in, you can see exactly what those security parameters are and understand their auditing and their different SOC certifications and all those different things. If you're all in one cloud provider, it's very easy to lock down those resources with the tools that are native to that cloud provider. When you start spreading things across multiple cloud providers, you have to really have a centralized, comprehensive security management program in order to make sure you have everything locked down effectively. All right, so what are your multi-cloud connectivity options? Because we find that networking is often an afterthought when it comes to cloud deployments. If you talk to the DevOps folks, they'll say, oh, yeah, I'm just going to run it in the cloud. How do we connect? I don't know. I just expect it to be there, right? As much as everything has changed in the technology industry over the last 15 years, we are still buying connectivity the same way. It's typically done out of corporate IT. They're pricing out different telcos. They're entering into long-term contracts, and they're getting long install time frames. I mean, how many of you have been on the wrong end of a telco delivery? I have, where it's gone 6 months over the timeline they've given us. So what is Pureport doing? We are bringing cloud elasticity and agility to the network. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how we do that. So Pureport is the easy way to connect multiple clouds, multiple environments. We're really enabling those hybrid cloud and multi-cloud topologies. The other two that are the most popular is one that we call do it yourself, which is where you go, you procure a rack of colo, buy a bunch of network gear, and you put that equipment in a colocation facility that has a cloud on-ramp. So you're paying for colo, power, cross connects, networking equipment, and then you're also having to manage all of that equipment and the routing and the BGP. So what are the disadvantages there? Again, speed to market, you're waiting on that equipment to be delivered, the space provision, power provision, cross connects, and then you're having to hairpin your entire WAN through this one data center so that you can get to your cloud on-ramp. The other approach is the carrier. Again, back to all the things I just said. You've got cost, long-term contracts, as well as long install timeframes. With Pureport, there's no initial investment. It's very easy to manage. So we do everything at layer 3, and we're abstracting the routing, the BGP, so you don't have to have a bunch of CCIEs on staff in order to incorporate your cloud resources into your WAN. Pureport's product we're called the MultiCloud Fabric, and what we enable folks to do is seamlessly integrate multiple locations, multiple clouds, all in a layer 3 mesh. So we're not doing that hairpinning through a central data center. We're able to accommodate multiple cloud providers, so the big 3, AWS, Azure, GCP. We recently onboarded Oracle, and then we will continue to add additional platforms due to customer demand. So our secret sauce is really the ability to go all the way to customer prem. So we have a VPN product. You spin up an encrypted tunnel into the nearest Pureport POP, and then you're able to ride our private connectivity into the cloud providers. And as John mentioned, we're really excited about this phoenixNAP partnership because for all of the customers that have environments within phoenixNAP, we are very easily able to accept a cross-connect from your existing environment, and then you're able to be on the Pureport network, and it's all automated through our console and very easy to use. So why does Pureport make multi-cloud so easy? That comes back to our distributed cloud router. So if you think about today, if you want to connect multiple clouds together and you're not going to use Pureport, you're either going to manage VPNs between the cloud providers, or maybe the other two options, you're going to have carrier circuits going to each of the clouds and you're having to hairpin, and it's a mess. It's very complex. So with Pureport, when you spin up a cloud connection, we are spinning up cloud routers in every area. So again, we have a full layer 3 mesh, so you're not having to hairpin through a central location. So if you have folks on the West Coast, folks on the East Coast, all that need to access the cloud environments, they are able to go directly there without having to go through a central data center or corporate headquarters. One other feature that is a big differentiator for us is our ability to do cloud-grade NAT. And what that means is if you have multiple locations that are all using the same IP range, which we find a lot, instead of having to re-IP, you click a button in the Pureport console, and we have a carrier NAT space that allows us to NAT all of those so that you don't have those conflicts. Pureport console is extremely easy to use. I can spin up connectivity in AWS, and I am a salesperson. Always have been. I know nothing about networking. I know enough to be dangerous, I say, like cocktail level. I can get through a glass of wine conversation, right? So we have a wizard-like approach that tells you exactly what you need to enter in order to spin up the connectivity. So as long as you have an edge device that can speak IPsec and an internet connection, you can spin up a direct connect, express route, Google Cloud Interconnect, Oracle Fast Connect in a matter of minutes, literally 5 minutes or less. We have videos on YouTube that'll walk you right through it. So everything is available through the console, and we have the ability to segment, that's what I'm looking for, segment networks so that you don't have traffic running between them. So if you have dev, prod, UAT, whatever your different environments are, you can segment those out so that you're not, you're managing them in a distinct way. So there isn't any cross pollination, if you will. We are elastic, so you're able to scale bandwidth up and down just by logging into the console. So if let's say you're taking advantage of disaster recovery through phoenixNAP, and maybe you're sending some backups into Azure or AWS as part of that. If that initial seed, you could spin up a gig connection into the cloud. Let's say you're putting those backups into S3. You spin up a gig for that initial seed, but let's say you only need 50 megs really for the incremental backups, right? You're able to scale that back down. We bill by the hour, so you're not having to over provision your network like you are today if you go out and get a carrier circuit where maybe you're only using 10% of it for most of the year, right? So really the ability to scale those connections up and down and really have that agility and elasticity of the cloud. We can accept physical handoffs to become a node on your MPLS network. You could do the VPN. Yeah, we have multiple partnerships where, if you're on net with that provider, it's really just a cross connect and you're ready to go. So we're also DevOps ready. I talked about the console. A lot of our customers really love the ease of use of the console, but we have a lot of folks that don't use the console at all. They integrate fully with our API so that they're able to really incorporate network as code into their CI/CD pipeline. So we have a full Swagger repository. Just recently, we have a Terraform provider and an Ansible integration, so you're able to use the tools that you're already comfortable with if you don't want to write to the API. So really allowing, again, bringing it back to making the network more cloud-like, being able to incorporate that into the DevOps world, which if you think about it, network is the only piece that hasn't already been incorporated. We look at compute, storage, all of that. The DevOps can just spin it up, spin it down. They don't need to provision infrastructure. Same thing here with the network. All right, so core locations. When you look at where we are in the U.S., and currently we are only in the U.S., we have plans end of this year, early next year to go into the U.K. and Singapore at this point, and we'll continue expanding our footprint along with customer demand. But right now we have the 5 core locations in the US, and you can think of these as our cloud on-ramps. We cover all of the regions of the cloud providers that we're partnered with. So we can get you to any of those regions. And then the smaller dots, and you'll notice we've got one right here in Phoenix with phoenixNAP. Those are the data centers that we have lit where we're able to accept a physical handoff into the infrastructure, and you're on net with us. We have a locations page on our website that shows all the addresses and the names of the facilities. All right, so a little about the use cases that we're seeing. Obviously, cloud to cloud, seeing more and more of that. Folks, again, I mentioned Google for TensorFlow. A lot of folks prefer them for Kubernetes management. Amazon is doing a great job of Microsoft is doing a great job of confusing the market with all their different pricing, their licensing, the penalties that they're trying to give you for running SQL and AWS. And so a lot of folks are coming to us saying, okay, I've got everything in AWS. What's your latency to Microsoft? I want to run SQL there. And we're able to do, we've got like 1 to 2 milliseconds between the 2 cloud providers. So folks are able to fully, are able to really do that successfully. And then Oracle, I was really interested that we're seeing so much demand for Oracle, because I feel like they are way behind on the cloud game. But they are, again, doing a great job like Microsoft, really confusing people with the licensing and, penalizing and all this good stuff. So folks are actually using Oracle Cloud, so good to know. Hybrid cloud, obviously, we see that in every engagement. Folks have hybrid cloud environments where they've got legacy data centers, legacy applications that they're trying to optimize for the cloud, or maybe there's that one piece of hardware. They've got an AS400 on the floor, or iSeries, something like that. And a lot of folks, as they're moving things into the cloud, they don't really think of the network, and they'll find, oh, this is a lot chattier than I thought it was, and all of a sudden your network bills are skyrocketing. We're able to help with performance and cost by going over the private connectivity. Multi-site to cloud, again, great use case. Multi-site retail. We've got a lot of SaaS customers in the healthcare that they have to have private connectivity into their applications in the cloud, and each of the new hospital systems need a private connection. And they all have the same IP ranges, so we've had a lot of success there because we're really easily able to connect those resources. And we really like the idea of a cloud-native WAN, and that's language that we use a lot, because if you think about it, most folks are looking at these cloud connections as a bolt-on to their existing WAN. Like, oh crap, we need a direct connect, we need an express route. Sure, we'll get it here in our data center, and again, everybody's hairpinning through there. We're really building the network on top of the cloud, so really cloud first and able to be a lot more flexible and really take your network into the future. If you're not multi-cloud now, most people have that on their roadmap. And then you mentioned MPLS. We have a lot of folks that are using us as an MPLS replacement. Maybe they have different sites coming up, and when you think about the software-defined networking that we're doing, it is very MPLS-like. So, but we're able to really complement existing infrastructure. We're not asking you to rip and replace things. We can work with whatever edge device you've already invested in. So really just bringing, again, that agility and flexibility to the network. All right, so I want to mention just a really quick case study. But I mentioned healthcare IT. So Find Technologies, longtime customer. Well, as long as they've actually been on for over a year, because we just launched our new platform in March. So, anyways, they've been with us a long time, and the reason they went with Pureport is because we were able to help them win deals. And how does a networking company enable sales? Well, Their platform runs in AWS, and each of the new hospital systems that they bring on, because of HIPAA and other compliance reasons, they need private connectivity to that software in AWS. Again, they all use the same IP ranges. So think about a barrier to sale that is asking a third-party networking company to come in and re-IP their entire environment, right? Because most of these hospitals are outsourcing their networking. And it was becoming such a problem that they were losing deals over it. So by using Pureport, not only were we able to spin up the direct connectivity into their applications, but we were able to mitigate those IP conflicts so that they were able to onboard customers in a matter of days versus the 60 to 90 days they were seeing previously. So it's been a great partnership, and we've really helped them increase revenue and drive their business forward. So we start at 50 megs, and we go up to multi-gig. So think about customers that are in an area where they can't get a lot of bandwidth. You know, direct connect, express route, that's never really been an option for them, where we're able to do that for them. So as long as they have internet connectivity and a device that speaks IPsec, they can be up and running with us. When you create an account, you're able to create an account and you can come in and look around the console, but before you're able to spin up any connections, you need to enter payment information. So we accept credit cards, and then we also have the option to do ACH if you guys work through invoices. So we bill in arrears, and again, we bill monthly, but we prorate hourly. So if you need that gig for a gig connection for 2 days, you'd only be charged the gig price for 2 days or 2 hours, however long you needed it, and then it would be back down to whatever speed you picked after that. So again, very flexible. Bill by the month, or we're monthly contracts, but we also do multi-year contracts and do discounts off the monthly price for a longer term commitment. So a lot of times folks that have more static networks, we might put those under contract. And then if they've got projects where they're spinning things up and down, it's a lot more dynamic, they'll keep those on a monthly cost structure. We're in talks with a lot of different carriers because, again, we do everything at layer 3, and they're having a hard time connecting these clouds and bringing them effectively into the network, and we just make it super easy. So we actually just became a partner with Fortinet, so we're actually working with them to automate where their devices could actually spin up, work with our infrastructure to spin up that IPsec to make it even easier. But yeah, same thing with SD-WAN. If you have customers or if you have an SD-WAN environment, most SD-WAN providers, they get you closer to the public port of the cloud providers so that your latency and your performance is better, but most of them do not offer private connectivity. But most of them are able to support IPsec, so they're able just to point that at Pureport and enable that private connectivity to be part of that SD-WAN deployment. So, and talks for a lot of partnerships there as well. Where we really shine is when there are elements of the public cloud providers, just because their private connectivity options are so difficult. As we continue to put more dots on the map, that would be a bigger use case. I have seen folks use us for that use case in the markets where we have our core locations, because they're able to, if let's say they're in Chicago and they've got 60 locations in Chicago and they want to use us rather than deploy, rip and replace and go with an SD-WAN provider that makes you, buy their hardware. They're able to do that very effectively through us. It's just when you get kind of out of those regions where the latency might become a problem.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys for your patience and for your attention.